America is filled with small towns, some charming, some historic, and some that you wouldn't want to get stuck in after dark. From abandoned mining camps and haunted ghost towns to places with dark histories and unexplained mysteries, these towns are more than just quiet, they're downright eerie. Some are empty, while others still have a few brave residents. But they all share one thing, an unsettling feeling that something isn't as it should be. Today we're taking you on a journey through the 10 creepiest towns in America, places where the past refuses to stay buried, and the stories will send chills down your spine. Before we get started, hit that like button. Let's see if we can get this video to 2,000 likes. And if you love history, abandoned places, and travel destinations, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more, and check out our other videos. Imagine a town where the ground itself is alive, a fire burning beneath the streets for over 60 years, filling the air with smoke and turning the landscape into something straight out of a horror movie. This isn't a ghost story. This is Centralia, Pennsylvania. What happened here? Well, back in 1962, a simple trash fire in an abandoned coal mine accidentally ignited an underground inferno. Surprisingly, no one realized at first, but over time the ground started to crack, releasing toxic gas and plumes of smoke. As the fire spread beneath the town, sinkholes opened up, swallowing roads and houses. By the 1980s, it was clear Centralia was no longer safe to live in. Not much is left today. Almost all of Centralia's residents were forced to leave. Today, only a handful of people remain, surrounded by abandoned homes, empty lots, and streets that lead to nowhere. The most famous part? Graffiti Highway, a long stretch of cracked asphalt covered in spray-painted messages left behind by urban explorers. But even that was buried by authorities in an attempt to stop visitors from coming. Some believe the fire was no accident, while others say Centralia is cursed, linking it to old mining accidents and tragic deaths from the past. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's no denying. The town feels like something out of another world. If this place looks familiar, it's because Centralia was the real-life inspiration for Silent Hill, one of the most famous horror game and movie franchises ever. And with a fire still burning underground, it's unlikely anyone will ever call Centralia home again. Deep in the forests of Connecticut lies a place so eerie, so cursed, that even paranormal investigators refuse to stay after dark. Welcome to Dudleytown, an abandoned settlement with a reputation for madness, misfortune, and unexplained disappearances. Dudleytown was founded in the 1740s by English settlers, but it didn't take long before things started going very wrong. Almost every family who lived here experienced some kind of tragedy: mysterious illnesses, suicides, people vanishing into the woods, never to be seen again. By the mid-1800s, Dudleytown was completely abandoned. No one knows exactly why, but some believe it was due to a curse brought over from England, one that doomed the town from the start. What's there now? Just ruins. The houses are gone, but the foundations remain, hidden deep in the forest. Strangely, wildlife avoids the area. No birds, no animals, just an unsettling silence that makes your skin crawl. The land is now privately owned, and entry is strictly forbidden, but that hasn't stopped thrill-seekers from sneaking in and reporting strange lights, ghostly whispers, and sudden feelings of dread. Some believe the land itself is cursed, tied to the Dudley family, who supposedly angered the wrong people back in England. Others say there's something darker lurking in the woods, something that drove the settlers to madness. The famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, yes, the real-life demonologists from The Conjuring, believed Dudleytown was one of the most haunted places in America. So whether it's a real curse or just a case of eerie coincidences, one thing is certain: Dudleytown is a place where the past refuses to be forgotten. If you've ever wondered what happens when a town simply stops in time, look no further than Bodie, California. a perfectly preserved Wild West ghost town that looks like its residents just vanished overnight. During the gold rush of the late 1800s, Bodie was booming. Thousands of miners, outlaws, and families flocked here, hoping to strike it rich. But like many mining towns, when the gold dried up, so did the town's luck. By the early 1900s, businesses shut down, homes were abandoned, and within a few decades, it became a true ghost town. Today, not much has changed in Bodie. Unlike most abandoned places, Bodie is frozen in time. Many of its buildings are still completely intact. Homes with furniture left inside, a schoolhouse with dusty books on the desks, and a general store stocked with supplies untouched for decades. It's as if everyone just walked away and never looked back. But Bodie isn't just abandoned, it's also said to be cursed. According to local legend, if you take anything from the town, even a rock or a nail, you'll be followed by terrible misfortune. Over the years, park rangers have received countless letters from visitors who stole a small souvenir and later begged to return it, claiming they experienced car accidents, health problems, and financial ruin. Bodie is now a California State Historic Park, protected so that visitors can walk through this real-life ghost town. But don't even think about taking a souvenir, because whether you believe in curses or not, why take the risk? Once a thriving capital, now a town swallowed by nature, Cahawba, Alabama, is a place where history and tragedy linger in the air. Founded in 1819, Cahawba was Alabama's first state capital, a booming river town with grand mansions, busy streets, and a growing economy. But the land had one fatal flaw. It flooded constantly. Each year, the Alabama River crept closer, and by 1826, the government had enough. The capital was moved, and businesses began to close. But the real trouble started during the Civil War, when Cahawba became home to a makeshift Confederate prison. Thousands of Union soldiers were crammed into inhumane conditions, many of them never making it out alive. By the late 1800s, flooding turned the town into a lost cause, and people left for good. Now, all that remains are ruins, old graveyards, and eerie remnants of a town that nature reclaimed. This place was once a bustling town, but now it's just the ghostly remains of old homes, collapsed streets, and the eerie silence of a town that shouldn't have been built there in the first place. The land is now a historic park, but many say that when you walk through Cahawba, you're not alone. But the legend? Locals and visitors have reported strange lights, disembodied voices, and even phantom horse-drawn carriages rolling through the night. One of the most chilling legends, the floating orb of Cahawba, a mysterious glowing ball of light that appears in the cemetery and follows people before suddenly vanishing. Fun fact, Cahawba is often called Alabama's most haunted town, with ghost hunters and paranormal investigators making regular visits to capture evidence of lingering spirits. So if you ever find yourself wandering Cahawba's empty streets, be warned, the past never truly left. Some towns have ghost stories, others have urban legends. But Stull, Kansas, it has a portal to hell, at least that's what the locals say. This tiny, nearly forgotten town has one of the darkest reputations in America, all thanks to its infamous cemetery, where legend says the devil himself appears twice a year. But if that is not enough, why else is it creepy? The stories about Stull date back over 100 years. According to legend, this cemetery hides a hidden staircase, one that doesn't lead to a basement, but to something much darker. Some say it's a direct passage to hell itself. Twice a year, on the spring equinox and Halloween night, it's said that the devil rises from this graveyard, using it as a portal between worlds. The original stone church, where much of the legend began, collapsed mysteriously in 2002. Some say it was due to decay, while others believe it was destroyed to keep people away. Even today, Stull's cemetery remains off-limits at night, with authorities strictly enforcing trespassing laws. Some say this is to protect the site, while others believe it's because something is still there. Visitors who have snuck in at night have reported sudden nausea, violent wind gusts, and even the feeling of being watched. Some claim to have heard deep growling coming from the cemetery, despite no animals being around. One of the strangest stories? Pope John Paul II reportedly refused to allow his plane to fly over Stull when traveling through the United States because of its demonic reputation. Even though the town itself is nearly abandoned, the legend of Stull remains so infamous that it's been featured in pop culture, including an episode of Supernatural. So whether you believe in the legend or not, one thing is clear. Stull is a place where shadows linger long after sunset. Circuses are supposed to bring joy, laughter, and amazement. But in Baraboo, Wisconsin, the former headquarters of the Ringling Brothers Circus, the past hasn't faded away. Some say the ghosts of performers long gone still linger in the shadows. Why is this circus creepy? In the late 1800s and early 1900s, Baraboo was the center of the American circus world. Trains loaded with acrobats, exotic animals, and performers traveled the country, but not everyone made it back. Accidents, tragic deaths, and mysterious disappearances plagued the circus industry, and many believe the spirits of these lost performers never left. What's in Baraboo now? Baraboo is still home to the Circus World Museum, a collection of old carnival rides, vintage posters, and relics from the golden age of traveling circuses. But not all of its history is on display. Visitors and workers have reported phantom laughter, strange music playing when no one is around, and the sensation of being watched. One of the most haunted spots? The museum's basement, where artifacts from long-forgotten performers are kept. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures lurking in the corners, disappearing when approached. Some legends never die. Perhaps the most famous legend is that of the ghostly trapeze artist. People have claimed to see a figure swinging high in the rafters, except there's no equipment there anymore. Some say it's the spirit of a performer who fell to their death mid-show, forever repeating their last performance. Baraboo's eerie reputation has inspired countless ghost stories, and even paranormal investigators have tried to capture evidence of circus spirits still lingering. So if you ever visit, keep your eyes open. You never know when a ghostly act might take center stage. Unlike most ghost towns, Gary, Indiana, wasn't abandoned centuries ago. It was a thriving city filled with families, businesses, and dreams. But now, it stands as one of the creepiest modern ghost towns in America, a place where entire neighborhoods sit silent, frozen in time. Gary was founded in 1906 as a booming steel town, home to tens of thousands of workers and some of the largest steel mills in the world. But when the steel industry collapsed in the late 20th century, so did the city's economy. Jobs disappeared, people left, and Gary fell into ruin. What's left behind? A city slowly being reclaimed by nature, one where schools, churches, and theaters still stand, but their doors have been locked for decades. It is amazing how fast nature reclaims itself. Today, entire blocks of Gary are abandoned, and some areas have been completely overtaken by trees and wildlife. Walking through it feels like stepping into a post-apocalyptic movie, except this isn't fiction. One of the eeriest places? The abandoned Gary public schools. Classrooms still have chalk on the blackboards, desks sit untouched, and old report cards lie scattered on the floors, as if students simply walked out one day and never returned. But it's not just the emptiness that makes Gary terrifying, it's the stories. Paranormal investigators claim that some buildings are haunted by spirits of those who never left. Shadows move through empty hallways, whispers echo in deserted buildings, and some say they've even seen figures staring out from darkened windows. One of the most infamous places? The abandoned Methodist church, where visitors report hearing footsteps on the broken floors and strange flickering lights, even though there's no electricity left. Fun fact, because of its eerie, abandoned look, Gary has been the filming location for several horror movies, including A Nightmare on Elm Street and Transformers: Dark of the Moon. If you ever find yourself in Gary after dark, just remember, not everything in this town is as empty as it seems. Deep in the Great Smoky Mountains lies a town lost in time. Once a thriving resort community, Elkmont, Tennessee is now a place where cabins sit abandoned, forgotten by the world, and nature slowly reclaims what humans left behind. Elkmont began as a logging camp in the early 1900s, but soon, wealthy vacationers from nearby cities saw its potential. Lavish resorts and summer homes were built, and for decades it was a lively getaway. But in the mid-1900s, the federal government decided to expand the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Residents were forced to sell their properties with the agreement that they could live out their lives there. But after they passed, their homes would be abandoned and left to rot. The last resident left in the 1990s, and from that moment on, Elkmont became a ghost town. In fact, no one ever returned. Today, Elkmont looks like a town where time stopped. Dozens of boarded-up homes still stand, filled with rusted bed frames, old rocking chairs, and faded photographs, as if the owners could return at any moment. Walking through the ruins feels unsettling, as if someone is watching from the windows, except no one has lived here for decades. Some visitors report hearing disembodied voices and footsteps crunching through the leaves when no one else is around. Others claim to see glowing lights in the woods at night, moving in ways that defy explanation. One legend tells of the lost Smoky Mountain wraiths, ghostly figures that appear in the fog, only to disappear the moment you look directly at them. The National Park Service once planned to tear down the cabins, but due to overwhelming interest, they decided to preserve them as a historic site. So now Elkmont remains frozen in time. If you ever visit, be prepared for the eerie silence, and don't be surprised if you hear whispers from the past. If there's one place that truly feels like a ghost town from a Western movie, it's Bannack, Montana. But unlike a movie set, Bannack is real, and its past is as dark as it gets. Founded in 1862, Bannack was one of the first major gold rush boomtowns in Montana. It was a place of lawlessness, greed, and violence, where outlaws ruled the streets and justice was served at the end of a rope. For a brief time, Bannack was the capital of Montana Territory. But as the gold dried up, so did the town's future. By the early 1900s, most residents had abandoned it, leaving behind a perfectly preserved snapshot of the Wild West. Except now, it's eerily silent. Today, Bannack is a state park, but it remains completely abandoned. Not one soul lives there. Over 60 original buildings still stand, and walking through them feels like stepping back in time, except the voices of the past never really left. Inside the deserted schoolhouse, visitors report hearing faint laughter and whispers, as if lessons are still being taught. In the old hotel, doors slam shut on their own, and some claim to see shadowy figures standing in the windows, staring out at nothing. One of the most feared men in Bannack's history was Henry Plummer, the town's sheriff, who also led a gang of outlaws known as the Innocents. They were responsible for over 100 murders, robbing and killing gold miners before they could reach safety. But when the town found out, Plummer was captured and hanged, not in a jail, but on the very gallows he had built for others. His ghost is said to haunt the town to this day, with visitors reporting cold spots near the hanging site and the feeling of someone standing behind them when no one is there. Bannack is one of the best preserved ghost towns in the United States, and yet almost no one dares to stay after dark. Because in Bannack, the Wild West never truly died. Some towns are haunted by their past. Others feel like they were never meant to exist at all. Ravens Fair, Maryland is one of those places, a town so unsettling that it supposedly inspired the horror movie Dead Silence. And if you know the story, you know why that's terrifying. Just the thought of it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Once a thriving Victorian-era town, Ravens Fair was known for its grand theaters, lavish performances, and one performer in particular, a ventriloquist named Mary Shaw. According to legend, Shaw's act wasn't just a performance, it was something darker. After a young boy went missing and was last seen in one of her shows, suspicion fell on her. When she was found dead soon after, the town thought the horror was over. They were wrong. What became of Raven's Fair? Over the years, Raven's Fair became eerily abandoned. The theaters and opera houses shut down, businesses disappeared, and most of its residents left, except for a few who refused to speak of the past. The old theaters remain, but no one performs there anymore. Visitors claim to hear faint applause, footsteps on the empty stage, and sometimes soft whispers coming from the rafters when no one is there. Some believe the town is cursed. I certainly do. Others say Mary Shaw never really left. The legend goes that if you hear her name whispered in the dark, you should never scream, because those who do never speak again. Locals refuse to talk about the past, and many of the remaining homes have long since been boarded up. Those who dare to visit say that at night you can still hear the sound of a woman's voice reciting poetry in the dark, followed by distant laughter. While Raven's Fair's exact location is kept quiet, many believe it was used as the inspiration for Dead Silence, a film about a town plagued by a ghostly ventriloquist. Whether the movie was based on real events is still up for debate, but those who visit say the truth is far more terrifying. So if you ever find yourself wandering through an empty town with an old theater at its center, you might want to turn around, because some performances never truly end. From abandoned ghost towns to places with haunting secrets, these are some of the creepiest places in America. But what do you think? Would you visit any of these towns, or would you rather keep your distance? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history.